Hi, welcome back to GP Reactions. I hope you're good. Thank you for subscribing, and as always, please join me in a comment at the end of a song. Now, still carrying on with my theme of 1981. There will be an end to this at some point. Next week I'll be doing some new music, but I can get this little kind of bug out of my system, I think. So I'm going to be continuing with a track by Ultravox, and this is called All Stood Still, and it was from the album Vienna. So I believe it's entered the UK Top 40 around about 6th of June 1981, and it peaked at number 8. Interesting to hear this song, as this is another one a little bit like the last one that I reacted to from the Jam. It kind of passed me by a little bit, so I'm not entirely sure if I've heard this before. So you know what, without further ado, let's get straight into it. This is Ultravox, All Stood Still. Just going to stop this there. I've been trying to figure out what this song's about. This is one of those songs. This is one of those apocalyptic songs. I think this is about nuclear war. And I'm curious. I wonder if this is about... I wonder if this is alluding to Hiroshima. I get a feeling it's about nuclear war. I picked up the thing about radars, clocks, standing still. Yeah, very interesting. I have heard this song before. I didn't listen to this one very much. The previous track, Vienna, I was very aware of. So it's nice. This is really, really, really refreshing to hear this. It is bringing back some feelings and memories for me. But I knew nothing about the lyrics, which is really interesting.
We all stood still.
That was Ultravox with All Stood Still. I really enjoyed that song. I've only heard it maybe a few times, but I do remember it, albeit a long time ago in '81. So I do remember hearing it, and it kind of brings back some really kind of like fun memories of that summer actually listening to this. But yeah, I feel that this song really is about nuclear war, and I'm still not sure whether it's alluding to historical nuclear war, like say Hiroshima or Nagasaki. But it's quite a frightening song when you listen to it. Although it's the whole tone of the song is very punchy, which I like. It's kind of relentless beat. So just looking at the lyrics, the light went out, the last fuse blew, the clocks all stopped, it can't be true. The program's wrong, what can we do? The printout's blocked, it relied on you. This would kind of like suggest that there's mistakes, pretty catastrophic mistakes. Things have been read wrong, and it's resulted in there being a nuclear war. Historically, this happened, and I'm not sure. This is really interesting. I'm actually not sure whether this actually happened and was common knowledge in 1980, 81. But the scenario definitely happened where it was like a war game, and it kind of went wrong, and one side didn't know whether the other side were actually launching a nuclear attack. And so in the context of that would be, amazingly scary topic to write a song about. The lifts all fail, a siren cries, and a radar fades, a pilot sighs. As a countdown stall, the readout lies. Please remember to mention me in tapes you leave behind. Yeah, so there is a sense that, bombs may have dropped and people and lives have been lost. But also in that one line says, please remember to mention me in tapes you leave behind. So maybe that's like a message that, what occurred perhaps in Hiroshima and Nagasaki shouldn't be kind of forgotten. It should be remembered by everyone as so that the same thing doesn't happen again. So again, that's another, that's another kind of looking back. So looking back onto Hiroshima, looking back at that horrible moment, and then us coming forward to what was 1981, and looking at that current situation as well. I consider this song is working on two different timelines, and then which is interesting. It says, and the jails decayed, the keys got lost, everybody kissed, we breathe exhaust in the new arcade of a Holocaust. So that's actually painting a future scenario of what life would be like, maybe following a nuclear war. It's also that you could actually take these lyrics and apply them to what we're kind of just been living through with coronavirus, and it's just, that struck a chord with me as well. It said, the buildings froze up, the system choked up, we stood still, we all stood still stood still, we're standing still. We stood still, we all stood still stood still, we're standing still. And I don't know how you guys feel, but for the first 2 months I've been locked down by this. This is how life felt, and when I kind of ventured out in the first week to pick up medications and stuff, it felt like that film I Am Legend. There's nobody about, a couple of people a few homeless people were about, but nobody else, and everybody else, those that were about, were kind of avoiding everybody. It did actually, the lyrics of this song, we stood still, we all stood still. That's kind of what it felt like at that time. How to describe Ultravox's music? Synth pop. Maybe that's it. Synth rock. It's kind of like synth rock. I would say maybe how to describe it. But I love the sound of Ultravox, and Mitsuo's voice is so good, so good. Interestingly, the Ultravox did have a song out a few years later, which was about nuclear war again. So clearly, that theme, was revisited, revived for a more produced kind of sound in 1984. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. If you've got any other interpretations to this song, please join me in the comments. If you like Ultravox, maybe you have a suggestion for another track that I might be able to react to. But if not, you're welcome to subscribe if you enjoyed this one in particular. And again, as always, thanks for viewing. I'm really enjoying my trip back into 1981. It's not infinite; it will end at some point. I may have to revisit a few of these songs next year. I'm not gonna do them now, only because I had a few issues with the recording of them, and it might be fun to come back and revisit, say, different versions of them. So yeah, till next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all soon.